Hi everyone, welcome back into the classroom. Well, I'm going to continue some of the differences. I painted that quick floral to show you the difference between open medium and extender medium, and still there's a lot of confusion. And it's just where I use basically into the shadows and stuff to keep it thinner. I use extender to use the highlights where I like it thicker. I use the open medium. One of the many ways in which to use these mediums. But today what we're going to do is I've made up a very large, I think it's like 24 by 14. It is very panoramic, and I'm going to do a rough ocean like you see back here. I did this one several years ago. I'm not going to put the ship in there. I might put a little ship or something in the back. But I did this real rough ocean scene back there, and I really like it. Or you can do the Labrador Callie down there if you want. She's decided to photobomb the lesson today. But and it is a wonderful mixture of the two main painting blues in our line. We actually have three, but two that I use a lot, Ultramarine Blue and Phthalo Blue. And we're going to create this rough ocean and then up into this magnificent sky. So it ought to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to use a completely different technique than some of you have probably ever seen before, okay? Where we're going to put a coat of sealer on in between so we can use some wiping out and glazing techniques as well during the painting of this ocean. Hopefully it'll give you some other ideas, all right? All right. So like I said, this will work on any board. This one is a little bit more panoramic. And it is, I believe it is 14 by 24 is what I did here. And then I came up just a little bit below halfway. And so it's like 6.5 inches up from the bottom. I put a horizon line, and I'm going to sketch, before I start anything, I'm going to kind of sketch on some waves. And I like to go into Photoshop and create, and I created an idea up here. Whether or not I follow it, that's another thing. I love painting ocean scenes and waves, and so they tend to change a lot during the painting, so I give myself an idea. Those of you that are members, I will put the idea that I made. I took a photo of a storm out over the prairie, actually, and then melted it with a stormy ocean, and then we'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. Okay, so let's come in here first. I'm going to grab some Phthalo Blue. And just some water. You could use a little extender medium, but I want this to dry fairly quickly because I want to be able to glaze the colors here. So what I envision here is rising up above the horizon line, right about in here with one main large wave. This will help us. So when you're painting the waves, you're going to have the back horizon and then the forward waves here. It is just like the planes in a landscape. So you're going to want to create some waves that are going to basically be in different planes. So let's set a smaller one back here, just a little bit up over the horizon, and maybe a smaller, lighter one there. So our horizon is going to come into here like this. So this will give us a good, let's put maybe a descending wave down this side. So, and back here, if I decide to put a little ship or something in here, maybe I'll put him back here. But so we've got a forward wave, a mid-ground wave right here, and that will do most of our painting for us. We'll put a larger wave. I just kind of like this other one that's over here, I put a larger wave on the left side. So let's come over and put a larger wave here onto the right side, maybe right in here. So this will create some of the trough area right in here that we're going to want to develop. That's going to give us a lot of interest. And then in these areas in here, in between, we can put the smaller little wind waves that come between the big swells. I lived the majority of my life on the ocean, and I just loved it. Scary as all get out when you get a big winter Pacific storm, but it is, I just absolutely loved it. Now up here into the sky, I'm gonna put a big cloud unit right in here, some clouds along right up through here. I plan on maybe breaking the sky, maybe putting some rays of light coming down through here. I don't know. but I think that might be kind of fun. So let's go in and let's put in some of the colors that we want. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some of the light sky because my storm is going to take over everything. So I'm going to put on some of the light sky, and then I'm going to put on the wave. When a wave gets up, light travels through it. When it gets into its peak, the light travels through it, and so you get that glow sometimes through it. So I want to put that on and preserve it, and with a protective layer of glazing medium or sealer, which I'll show in a second. And then we'll be able to use some wipeout techniques, okay? So it's a great way. You could do this on florals. You could do it on anything. It's one of the beauties of acrylics is our ability to paint not only alla prima, but to paint alla prima in layers, okay? So first, let's just take down, so I have my palette. Let's talk about our palette here. I have yellow oxide, Hansa Yellow, burnt sienna. These are from Dave's favorites. This is a very important color in today's painting. It is Phthalo green blue. It is a beautiful color. I use it a lot of times in conjunction with the red violet to create an almost blackish color that can go down way down deep into the troughs. And I love it because it's not really a blue. Then I have my Phthalo Blue, my Ultramarine Blue, my red violet, and my white. Those are going to be my main painting colors here. So to start the sky and some of the peaks of the waves, I'm going to make a real light, basically blue. I'm going to keep it right up around value 7 or so. I want to also have a little bit of the Ultramarine Blue. So let me just show you, those of you that are brand new painters, Ultramarine Blue is a blue violet. Let's just show you here off the side. So if I take the Ultramarine Blue and I add white to it, you can see it's a blue violet. Phthalo Blue is the blue green, which is mostly the color of the ocean. So we'll add some to that. You'll see it is a blue green. This is a blue violet. And together these guys make a pretty nice sky right here. So, and you got to remember that acrylics will dry a little bit darker. So let's get this just a little bit lighter. So right in here, this will be good. Okay, so I'm going to take my bigger brush and some water. This is a 2-inch brush and some water, my 2-inch fusion brush, nice soft brush. And I'll come in here and I'm going to apply the color pretty heavy. I want it pretty heavy, right up through where I think that blue sky might come through. Maybe a bit of it right up through here. So my cloud is going to be there. I'm going to have this pretty heavy color right into here. And then we'll just whisper this out into some of this other area. So, and I'm going to have this real light kind of foggy condition down along through here. You can put a little bit, I always like to put a little bit of color for some harmony, some interest and stuff, and that works really well. Now let's go to a smaller brush, and even though even in here you don't see too much of that color, only into the real thin areas, but we will put some of it down, and that will harmonize the sky and the water and stuff as well. So some in the mid-ground areas up in here, I am going to push some of this. Now I'm not going to paint for texture. Do not have texture in any of this. So this might be a swirling little peak of a wave here that I might have some of that blue. And we might push a little bit up over here, right in this area, and scrub it out so that it's not perfect. And put a little bit up over here. Maybe a touch or two right up here by the peak. You know, we'll have, but we're going to go to a lighter color. So that's pretty nice. So that'll carry, I don't need it everywhere. I just need a hint of it because we can make this color as well. Let's go up with a brighter phthalo green and the yellow, Hansa Yellow. And I will add a little bit, let's add just a touch of this blue to this. It's a bright greenish blue. Let's add a bit of this right into the peak area here of this wave. Now this is where light can go through. We don't, and I really want to keep it, I don't let too much of this color come through at all in the painting. But it's nice to have it up underneath there, okay? Especially as we're pulling and glazing. So a little bit, because I can cover it up. But I want, if you're at all in doubt, put it in just lightly through the painting. And so we can pull to it. But a real interesting area can be right in here. So let's just get a little bit of that in there. And maybe we take a little bit of our Phthalo Blue and we can just soften this out a bit. Now this will happen during the painting. What I'm thinking about is the colors underneath where I'm gonna, so if I do a wipeout technique, which I'm gonna do, if I do a wipeout technique, I will be revealing some of the lighter colors that you can see. And so we might even like a little bit more yellow right up in that peak right there. That can happen. Maybe the sunlight's going to hit that particular peak there. So, you can always add it later. This is the beautiful thing about acrylics. You can always come back and say, well, I want to do that again, and add it later, and then glaze it off, and and then add your darks on top of it. So you can go either way. Or you can just lightly paint everything in here with this color and glaze back up on top of it. It all works. There's just such a great way why I love acrylics. But I want this trough here, and we can kind of show this a little bit right now. I want just a little Phthalo Blue, not as dark as I'm going to get, but that trough is going to be right in here. And I want this kind of movement this way. So you can soften into that phthalo there, that yellow and phthalo green. That's going to be our trough in our wave right down, our big wave right here. And the other trough, which will go really dark, will be right up in here. And this is where I'll get a lot of phthalo. So you can see what's going to happen here in setting this up. And I'm using, this is a 3/4 inch brush. I'm using really light pressure, stepping way back and just kind of dragging it up and lifting. It's pressure, and I'm painting acrylic, so it's going to drag pretty quickly. Remember, we drag this. If you need to, add a little water. But I want a little bit of a lifting motion here, a little bit of the trough sits right down in here, okay? Right in there, you can see, and then I lift up into that wave, right in there like that. That's going to lift up into that wave there. We're going to have other darks and stuff, like we'll put some wind waves and some darks. The darks are what really brings the waves forward and what's going to allow us to really set some distance back there. So we don't want to get real super dark here yet. We will get some because that wave is pretty close to us, but not quite yet. So you can do this. You can put a little bit of this out here, and I think that's probably enough. I mean, I could have maybe a little bit more, but remember, I'm going to glaze on. See, it's really kind of fun to do it. You can just use a little water and just kind of streak that through. When you do those yellows and stuff first, and it starts to dry up, you get a lot of beautiful effects there into the water. And so but that'll set. Now that will kind of set our position. Let's take just a bit of this phthalo, because I love that color, and a little bit of water, and let's just work a touch of it back up here into this sky. So this sky gets a bit more interest right up there, and just so we can see it. The most of this is, the whole technique here though, is to get some of these brighter colors on, preserve them. We'll let this dry, and then we'll preserve them, and so we can wipe down through to them. But that, I like that. Okay, so now next step. What I'm going to do is let this dry. You can even take it out. You can take it outside, let the sun bake it. It's 93 degrees out right now outside. It's pretty warm. And you can let that, let that bake. or you can use a hair dryer on it. And then once the board is cooled down, the board has to be cool, I'm going to give it a coat of the multi-surface sealer. You can use multi-surface sealer, or you can use glazing medium. Both of them work well. The medium that's formulated to do this is glazing medium. Multi-surface sealer, though, is very hard. It will dry very hard, very clear, and so you can scrub on it really easy without picking it up and lifting. It has a lot of glue in it. So I'm going to use it just in case, you know, how much scrubbing I'm going to do. So I'll let this dry. This is already drying. I'm going to give it about 5-10 minutes here to dry up, or use a hair dryer on it. And then I'm going to take a big brush, some water, and some glazing medium, and just go over and give a light coat over the whole board, and then let that dry an additional 10 minutes or so. And then we'll be back and we'll start our painting, okay? All right, I'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Okay, everyone, welcome back. So what I did was I gave that a coat of sealer, just took a damp brush, my big brush, and just walked it back and forth over the whole thing, gave it a nice light coat of the sealer, and now it's dry and it's slick. You'll feel the difference between the surface. Now it's slick. And what this does is this protects everything that I have underneath here. So I can come back with water as a solvent and pull through and not disturb the lighter green or the blue. Remember, I've always talked to you about water as a solvent, and acrylics, artists, we could use that. Now, if we lock away this glow underneath, we could use the solvent to pull through, and the sealer won't allow the other colors underneath to pull up as well. So you can't go all the way back to your white base coat, if that makes sense. Okay, so now we've locked it on. Okay, so now we're going to continue painting. And what I'm going to do is set up my horizon and my distant plane. So I'm going to take my big brush here, and this has a little dirty paint from the last painting I did, and that's okay. A little bit of dirty extender here. I'm just going to push this right around my horizon line there, a real thin coat. I'm going to use a 3/4 inch brush, and I'm going to set up a nice light gray. So this is pretty much dried here. We'll take a bit of both of our blues, just a touch of our burnt sienna in here to start the gray. I don't want to get it too warm here, and some white. And we're going to start this lighter gray, maybe even a little bit of a violet into that. Ooh, that's pretty. I want this gray, value-wise, let's see where we're going to be. Probably right around, see, if we want the distance to it, we talked before, we always go to like a value 8. So let's get this up around an 8, which will be good. I'm going to add a little extender to it because I don't want this super thick. I want this kind of misty color here. And yeah, that's pretty. And we'll go right along our horizon line here. And we'll go up into the sky a bit here. And there we go, mist that back and forth. And we'll go down into the water. But see, this is what I was talking about. I can wipe that right off, see? I can wipe that right off and never hurt that original glow. That's what's really nice about that sealer, protection. And glazing medium does it too. So we'll push that on. For the ocean, so we have this gray. This will stay wet here for just a bit. Let's just push this off to the side here. Just a bit. That's a nice gray. Let's go slightly darker. So a little bit more. And I like the violet, so maybe I'll stick to the blue and the ultramarine blue with some of the burnt sienna in it, just a little bit here. And we'll give a bit of motion back here to this water here, back along this back edge here. That's so you'll start to see the distant ocean back there. A little bit of the gray with that, right along this edge here. Pull down slightly. You're going to notice and see I can blur it really easy because I have that A, it's slick because of the sealer, and B, it is the slides right along this edge here. and the doesn't allow it to get too opaque, too heavy. So we'll get just a bit there, and we'll let some of that colors come together. Let's model in a little bit of light, which is, we want to have some clouds and everything here. So we'll start to just work in a little bit of this light. What this is going to help me with my depth, and also just give the feeling of these are back clouds here into the very back. So I'm trying to imagine 3D, that dimension, right? Getting that dimension here way back. So I'll work this, small movements. When it goes further back, this is very important. When it goes further back into the distance, your movements of your brush get smaller. When you're bringing something forward, you could have a little larger movements. But into the back, you want that to be smaller. So that's kind of pretty. Here, so I have this kind of misty cloud, and maybe have a ship or something coming out of that here. And I can set up a little more of a wave kind of action back there, just lightly with it, because see, everything moves with your brush really easy because it's slick. So super soft brushes and small light touches with your brush are essential when you're painting like this, okay? Super soft brushes and small movements, because everything is slick now. A lot more than what we've normally painted together when we do alla prima and paint it simply and everything like that, okay? So let's get this, a little bit of the violet, a little bit of our burnt sienna, which grays it a bit. Soft, a little different tone, a little different feel to it. Just mark some of this in here, just color, different colors. Just mark them just a little bit. See a little bit of that. Okay, so now we can see, this is the thing. I can take a little water. So here's a bit of water right here in my paper towel, and I can back down. See, really easy, right to that edge of that blue where I wanted that kind of fog bank and cloud. So let's take a little light right with some of this color here. And let's just push up, like this is the edge of the fog kind of bank right there. You pick up a little bit of light here, back there, okay? And the blue's going to come through there. And but I'm keeping it very low-key gray. In other words, darker gray here, because I'm going to have some lighter clouds, sunlit clouds. So I want to keep this, no lighter than a 9. Definitely not near the whites. Okay, so we want, and if you need it to appear lighter, what you need to do is add a dark. So if I want this to appear lighter, let's take a little bit of our blue and our dirty burnt sienna and red violet here, and we can add some small movements. Remember, we're painting clouds and some of this stuff further back here. So we use small movements of the brush to dictate that back there, okay? And tap some of this. Maybe this is the shadow of a big cloud here. And I can soften this out. And see, it's going to stay wet there for quite a while. We can get some other blues. Let's get a little bit of our Phthalo Blue in there. And I'm using just extender right now. I'm not using any of a little bit of burnt sienna. Not using any of the beautiful open medium yet. Not yet. But see, that's a little different gray. And that's pretty. Little different gray. Cooler. Very cool. There, gray coming into that one there. Okay. And so if light is coming this way, and we're going to have bands of light coming through, we're going to have a shadow side of a cloud and the light side. Now, on this one photo I took up there, there's this beautiful band of light And so take a little, and I'm painting, right now I'm painting just with extender. So I'm going to take a beautiful band of light here, and we're just going to pull this cloud right through, like that works right through there like that. That big streaming cloud right through there. Really almost pure white, maybe even a tiny, tiny touch of yellow oxide, which warms it up. You know, there's a big feeling amongst the artists that you don't paint with pure white, you know, except in your final little shines. And I kind of believe that too. So I want this kind of streaky little light right up here. And right up in here, I want it to go almost white, right where I'm going to have some of that cloud come right up. So now I'm going to paint a little thicker. Now, I want this cloud to stick on everything that I just did. So I want it to stay wet for a second. So I'm going to add some open medium. Before we've added open medium to highlights, like on the flower, we added it to the highlights, to the petals. Now, this cloud is going to be just like the petals of a flower. Does that make sense? So I'm going to start to add right up here some of this shadow that I want to get right with some open medium so this color stays thicker. And I can tap it right there to get some interest. Let's get just a little more gray, a little bit of blue, burnt sienna. It's a beautiful gray, maybe a touch of our phthalo in there, some open medium right in here. Model that together a bit. And right up in here, let's just push this cloud, the edge of this cloud right here, and work it right into some of these lights and some of these colors right down here. Okay, and a little more dark maybe right in here. And you can light pressure of your brush. This is the 3/4 inch fusion fusion flat, which paints these kinds of things just perfectly because it is a super soft brush. Let's put a little light right out there by that edge, right out here, because this would be the light side of the cloud, because I'm bringing light in from the right. So that would be the light side. So the big thing is, look at the modeling of the colors that are in there. That's kind of what I want. And I want that this photo, the actual photo that I have of this, has this beautiful light right down through here, coming right through the back of this cloud here, right, streaking right through there. And so that blue is underneath there and protected, right? So now I can take my paper towel with a little water and just do this and just streak that through right like that to get that streaking of that cloud, see? And I can just, grab the edges and smear some out and give a more natural look to it. But right up against one of the prettiest parts about this photo that I like is this light that's right up here. And you can see that right there. That's really kind of a pretty bit of that light that's right there. Now, let's take a bit of that light, because it happens right up over here on this side of this cloud. And we'll fuzz it out a bit there. And so it's not pure white. I'm grayed down a bit. And we'll just drag some of that back here. Some of that misty up through here. That misty look of that. And I love into this cloud, this photo I have has some of this bluish color, right up underneath here. That's just really pretty. Sky kind of, bluish color. The phthalo is perfect. Phthalo and a little bit of white gives this cast to it that's just wonderful. So let's put a little bit of the gray back in here a bit. Just a bit here. Here we go. Maybe some of the tops of this cloud, because onto the right side, let's bring it. The photo doesn't, my reference up there doesn't have it that much, but I'm going to do it here. Like that's just a cloud back there hit. And then this darker, this is the shadow side coming up in front of it here. So, and so I've just, yeah, I really want to capture this real light that's right there. Maybe I can move this over. If I drop this down a second, I can show you. No, it won't work. Well, let's, we can put the photo up every once in a while and show you guys, but kind of right in here, this what I really want to build right in there. And I'll model this just so it has a little bit of wispiness to it. Just see, I can get that wispy of the cloud dragging this because I've preserved that blue with the sealer. See that? So I can get that wispiness there. And I can just create that look. That's kind of pretty right there. So I got the blue up over here. I'm going to thin some of this white with a little bit of extender. And we'll add a bit of that wispy cloud back up here onto this side as well. Maybe right up into the edge of this one. Right up there. That's kind of neat. Make this right. And so, see, I can put that and maybe a bit of light. Let's keep that slightly warm. Just a touch of the yellow. We don't want yellow clouds, but just a touch of that there. That's pretty, right back to there. And then you would create, let's get our blues and our bit of our burnt sienna, a bit of our open medium, because this keeps this thicker. And we can develop just a bit of a shadow cloud sitting, the shadow of the cloud sitting right up here in front of this one. Right like that. See, so you get these layers of the clouds. And, you know, one of the other things that I do, and I'll show you guys, because this is really a lot of fun. Take your two blues, bit of your burnt sienna, bit of your open medium, model that together here. Let's lighten that just so it doesn't have as much impact. Okay, and I'll use my knife. And you see me use my knife all the time because I love this. Basically the spattering almost kind of thing that it gets. Does that make sense? Now, and you can soften that really easy with just a soft brush. You've seen me do this before, pulling through and leaving some of those marks just like that. But you get all these little up and down kind of undulations that make the cloud even more real, if that makes sense. Let's take some of this light. This is a lighter blue. Let's just work that in. And so working with your knife, like to see the difference between the knife and the brush is very smooth and the knife gives it more modeling. So you can drift other little clouds right in the front, pull down slightly like this, and it just looks wonderful, see? So, I love, my favorite painting way of all the clouds is the knife, because it just gives me these wonderful variations to my clouds. Let's gray this up a bit, lighten this, let's gray this just a bit, slightly different, little gray, and let's push this fog bank in here a little more. And see, I can model up and down and leave those undulations of color that you would have. So it's not quite as smooth, see? And sometimes after I get a nice base down with the brush, I like to do this with the knife. And you can hold the knife down and smear it in. I hold it like this and I smear it in and it smooths it out a little bit, travels the clouds a little bit more. Let's take some of this right up here. And see, it's harder over here because I have no base. So you'll feel the difference in the clouds quite a bit. So I do like to give a base, especially with a bit of extender here. I do like to have a bit of a base. See, the brush just slides it on really well. So I like to really, guys, I like to paint back and forth between my brush and the knife here as I block in here some of those areas. And I can round down, now that I have this brush in my hand, I can round down or smooth out, you know, any of those other marks in there to, you know, give a different look, smoother look or something like that to the clouds here. There we go. Just like that. They're pretty, it's fun. It really is fun. Now, over to this other side here, I have in the reference, I have it even darker stormy clouds right up over here. And look at how that just models that on. Now see, that is really dark right in there and very contrast. I could take a touch of that through some of this other, just drag it through, and a little bit of that would look pretty out over here. That tone, that color, that would be pretty. So it's pulling it across there. In the reference photo, this is what we use to start to pull down to give the look of a rain or a storm over here, hitting the ocean on this side, right around through here. And you can smear it back and forth a little bit, but that's what's going to give you this look of rain and storm and stuff over here, pulling down here. You can also do this with like lights and stuff as well. Let's take some of this, almost the same color, and add this back up over here to this side of the back ocean so that they're coming together a bit. Those colors that look back there into the distance. Let's soften. Here's our light. Let's soften this down. Brush softens it really well. Pulls some of it down. So you can see everything's staying wet. Why is it staying wet? Because I have a lot of extender and now the open medium in some of this. And that's what's doing it, right? You can see me working it and swirling the brush slightly here to give up some movement to the clouds here, like that. And swirling, pulling some of this down softly to give the look of some of the rain and stuff over there. Some of the more purple colors here. Let's grab some open medium with this, which will give us that lovely thicker feel to the paint. Let's put some of that purple color right up over in here, down, pull down. We'll smooth that out, but see that pulling down, you get this modeling. See this modeling, it slides over it, and that's what gives you a lot of the beautiful undulations of color in your clouds here. You know, that's just really neat, those undulations of color. And let's just carry some of this across. It's slowly fading out there and disappearing. I'm watching this edge because I want this all to be about the waves, but I want some of this interest here. So I'm watching the edges and the amount of contrast and stuff that I'm creating here. Let's come back in. Whoops, I don't want to do, I want to do the knife. I'm going to take some more open medium, some light color, little bit of warmth, just a little bit of warmth. Model this with some of the blues though. And let's create a back light cloud here. Pull that through. back into some of a little bit of our medium shadow color here. And you can do this too. I love, with the Heritage, it's non-toxic, so you can touch it. If you're using oils and stuff, don't touch your colors. And put a bit of that lighter violet in there, here. That's kind of pretty. Let's pull down and across here. Pull down. See how that just blurs it right in to there. There we go. Pull that further down here. That'll give some of that rain. Some more of that rain. A little bit of shadow right up here. See, I'll work it several times, several layers. Bit of that light right up here, because we may make a streak of light coming through here. So if that's going to be what we're going to do, then I should pick up some light right up here into the clouds, if that makes sense. Right up into this area, like I have back there. I'm going to need to really build the light right up here. That it's hitting that light cloud. And I'll put a dark right up in front of it. So let's go to our brush and a medium little violet color that we can use as a intermediate shadow, about a value 7, to push this other cloud here back, further back, right up next to the blue. You can use your water and the paper towel to push anything back if you need to. But let's just add a little bit of the light here, right in there. Doesn't it make kind of a pretty... You can at least, you can get some good ideas for basing or working and painting your clouds now, right? Because it is a lot of fun. Clouds can be done simple and fun. These are a little more complex than I do with Ultramarine usually, but they can be done pretty fun and quick. Let's go a little more shadow. I like to between this real gray and this violety gray right up here. Let's develop a little more of a shadow one. And you layer different clouds. Of course, they're darker, more moisture and stuff, but you can layer them there with some of those colors and just create some pretty little undulations of highs and lows, of darks and stuff like that into your clouds. Very pretty. Let's layer up here some of this dark, pull through a little bit of horizontal movements, a lot of rounding movements, little horizontal movements to set the clouds here. That's kind of pretty. Let's go a little bit back. I lost a lot of my dark here, but we can put it back here, right through like that. That's kind of neat. Maybe a little bit of light and dark shadowing in there. Maybe a touch of some of the edge of the water again here. I don't want to lose that edge too much, but a little bit is okay. Let's develop, we'll go back to the open medium, almost touch extender. We'll go back to the open medium. Some of our darks here, maybe a little bit more purpley color right in here. And we'll build this darker shadow one here that is actually the cloud, the storm cloud here that we're seeing the rain from. Right, and the other cloud is further back. So we're painting them in distant layers here. Let's take this one a little further back, softer here. So we'll pick out a little bit of light. So this one, so you almost got layers there, do you see? And this is a beautiful place for some of that light phthalo here, that light phthalo that we put over there on some of the clouds. That would be pretty coming in and showing up on some of the shadow sides here, some of these others. Pretty colors right in there. There we go, just like that. That's pretty. And so I'll develop, now, you know, how much we want to, I want to kind of streak some light through here. And that I will do after this cloud starts to set up. So it's going to have to dry a bit. And you could even, like I've done, some of you that had painted the South Before Winter, where I did those streaks of light coming through that mountain and the geese flying through them, that I gave a coat of sealer before I did that, so that if I made a mistake, I could take it off really easy. So you'll be able to do that if you want. But I'm going to build a bit darker one right up here by the front here. That looks pretty good. That nice movement there. Maybe just a light little edge here. The sun is going to hit it, so we're making a place that I can maybe pass some light through here. Yeah, in just a little bit. Just a little bit. So the light's going to hit the top of that cloud there. That's pretty good. Blur that down. You know, you could take your knife in there and work any of the knife, but see, I love all that coloring that's right back there. I really like that. I really like this light showing up right there. So maybe I will intensify this light right there just a bit onto this cloud and let this other darker one come forward right there as a way, and push that around. And you know, if you get too much, you can take it off really easy, guys, because we have that sealer protecting all of that original blue, if that makes sense. Okay, a little bit of the light hitting, the clouds are breaking, so the light is hitting some of the tops of these other clouds here, like that. That works. Let's open medium, helps keep that wet, and it thickness, which is what we want, the thickness to that. There we go, that thickness. And we can shape a little bit of some shadows through there, but we got a lot of light in there, and that's what we want. That light here. There we go. And then that dark picking up in front of it with those beautiful violet colors here. This other one, and then maybe a little touch of light layer hitting right in there, but not too much because it's the shadow side. So now you got a beautiful feeling of the clouds. That makes sense. Let's take some of this violet and stuff right back here. That's a little too much. We'll go back to the shadow, break some of that up. So that gives us a beautiful back edge of distant waves back there. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe, and you know, you careful how much dark, because the dark is going to also bring it forward. So careful how much dark you have back there, but you need a little bit of it. We need it for wave interest and stuff, but we don't want to get too much. Okay, so now we'll let this set up so we can maybe put some light down through there. I'm going to look, and that's kind of about what I want. If I want this to show up even more, and I'm not real sure, I'm going to go a little bit of violet. I'm not real sure, because I want to get the darks up into the front here. But I do want a powerful little spot there, so I increase the contrast. I can't increase the white. I'm just right about there with the white. But I can increase the dark right up there, which is the shadow. Because I'm about as white as I can get, and any more and I'm just going to wipe out too much. And so, but I can increase the shadow in this cloud, right like that, and model that color through, and that will, so because the light's coming down through here, that's the darkest, deepest part of the shadow of the cloud. And I can push that around a bit, maybe fuzz the edge just a bit so you get the feeling of it being kind of wispy in the edge. But I increase the shadow up in there, and that makes it kind of nice. But I also want to kind of shape this. So if this is a big rounding cloud, let's kind of shape it a bit so you got the feeling of the roundness to that cloud there. And that'll work. And maybe this softens. Nothing like working your finger or that knife. That knife is just magical. So that works, okay? All right, so now with that in mind, thin shadows, thick highlights, right? That's the rule. That's the rule of Ultramarine. That's the rule of landscape painting. So I'm going to be taking some of my blue. I want to go into some deep shadows. So red violet, a little phthalo green, into some extender. Real deep colors. I'm going to come in here and paint the deepest part of the trough. Now, look, watch what happens. I can take this and just wipe it really easy. See all the beautiful blues, midtones I can create in there because I've protected that earlier stuff with the sealer. So that's why it's so fun. So let's just drag, and I use a little bit of paint and kind of drag it over. Let's just drag. We'll drag some of that color. We'll be looking for the troughs. Extender, phthalo blue, a little phthalo green. Keep this all modeled in your brush so it comes out differently, because that's the beauty of the ocean. And see, we can get the different colors there. Let's push a little bit of this back here. Thin, drag it around a bit. If it drags too much for you and you want to move it across the surface a little bit more, put a light coat of extender on the surface. It will slide forever on you. Matter of fact, let's just do that so you can see. So I take my brush, my bigger brush, with some extender and a little bit of dirty cloud color. And I'll just put a light coat of extender. Sometimes on some oceans where I want to get a lot of interest, I won't put it out evenly. So sometimes it slides and sometimes it grabs. And then that gives this really great undulation to the colors. And that's what you go for, is this variation, this undulation of variation of color. Let's grab some of the phthalo green and that red violet, beautiful dark colors right down in here. And see, a little bit of that violet comes out, a little bit of that phthalo green here. Look at the green. It's probably hard for the camera to pick up these subtle changes in the color, but man, that is pretty. And see how it just slides over the surface there, really easy. See, and that's what we're looking for. So let's grab some more. Now, as you get to the top of a wave where you might want to build it and work it against some lights, you can pick up a little open medium like I just did, and it'll pick it up slightly different. Now look at these colors, see? Look at those colors that start to come out here. And I'll be looking, let's put a little bit of this yellow into this phthalo green. Let's put some of that in. And look at the different color we have in here. Follow the feeling of the swell here. The up and down of that swell, right? That's what you've got to follow. And some of this color, some of this streaking across here. Okay. In just a minute, we're going to go to the knife, and you're going to have some fun. But we'll work this just for a second. Let's work some of this softer, less color in your brush. Work a bit of it touching back there, but let some of this, just a bit of it touch back there so that we can bring the harmony to it, but let it just kind of fade away. Think about the distance, right? This would be actually, if we were going to build that wave right here, here would be the shadow side because light's coming from the right. So here would be actually the shadow on the trough right down into that side. Here we're getting this deeper shadow because the wave here is shadowing it. But, you know, we can shadow any side. Let's get a little more shadow, little phthalo, a little bit of green. We don't have to have that red-violet. Just the phthalo and the green, that's a beautiful color. Right in here, streak that through, see? Leave a bit of that streaking because that is giving the motion to that water. And you can see right here, see that it's sliding over the undercolor, the other color I put here. So I can already start to get the light color to the ocean. And that glazing that we did, see? That here, we can put some of this undulation in here, right? It just makes it so pretty here. And a little bit lighter, maybe a bit of the gray distant color here. Let's get some of that worked closer to that gray, but not all the way onto the horizon line, but work some of it back there so that that color gets softer, grayer back there. A little bit of this gray, the cloud color right in there. Some of that right in there. Leave some of the light, a little bit of the light coming through in some of that. Okay. Now some of the choppy wind waves. So the smaller choppy little wind waves, you gotta, you know, shadows here are coming to the left side, just like the sky here. So shadows will come to the left side. Get some thicker color, some blues, some greens, maybe a little bit of the red. Some as you thicken up, if you want to really draw on the shadow, add a little open medium. That'll keep the shadow thicker here. Right in like that, okay? I'm going to walk this up and or just start to take out a little bit of that. That's going to be a little too glowy for me. So I'm going to take out some of that right up here and just leave a bit of it showing through right in there. The same with this over here. See, I just lightly pressure of my brush and just start pushing it back. But at any time, you can bring it back. Does that make sense? So I can take a little bit of water and bring it back. So if I put it on too much there and I go, oh, that's too much, I just take a tiny bit of water like this and pull back through, I can go all the way back to the highlight. But I won't go to the white board because I have protected it with sealer. You can't get to the white board. You only get to that yellowy glow. Does that make sense? Okay, that's why we did it. Let's soften back here with a bit of our gray. That's our distant color back there, right? The distant ocean there. Okay, so we set that up. Let's set up some of the movement here with the, let's just grab some of these grays. And I am going to put out some more white because now it's going to, I want to paint a lot of real grayed colors, softer blues and violets. I like to start out with some violets. So I'll come over here and I'll make some violets, some light, some grayed violets here. This is more like the shadow side and it pulls some of the cloud colors down, but it's like the shadows that you see on the waves as well here. And so, you know, your light color is going to have some shadow on it. So your light foam and stuff that you push in is going to have some shadows on it. So I like to push the shadows here. So I put it on and I'll use my knife and I'll pull back through like that. Now, if I want to really give it more power and stuff, I'll keep it thick with open medium. And so as I pull through, I can capture all of these other little tones and colors and movements. If I want that come back the other way, if I want the shadow thin to go up against that so I don't take it out, I use extender over here. Keep the shadowing color just a little bit thin, and it will go in to soften some of that shadow, create a mid-tone, but it won't take it out because this grayed color I'm putting on is thicker. Does that make sense? And the blue that I'm running into it right now is thinner, so it doesn't have much power, but it does have some interest to give you some of those marks. Does that make sense? So the blue is thinner, the white is thicker, and the white you can drag wherever you want, or this violet you can drag wherever you want, and have some waves coming up here. You know, have the edge of this wave come, some of this maybe drag this way across. You know, we're going to build some lights, but it doesn't have much. It has more power against here. If I want to take it out, then I will need to add some heaviness to the dark. But if I want to slowly adjust it, I'll thin out my blues here, run the blues against it, and see how the blues can soften it here, but it doesn't take it out because the blues, the color that I'm using here, doesn't have as much thickness to it, as much power as the violets that I'm using. So it only softens it. Does that make sense? In other words, thick where you want it to stay, thinner where you want to just adjust the edges of it. That's what we're doing. So we'll add just a little bit of this, and see, I'll add some of this back through. That creates some of this beautiful movement of the wave and the water there. And I can take a soft, very thin blue, soft blue, lots of extender in it, and just pull through like this, giving that motion to that wave here without distorting too much of the white, because the white here is thicker and the blue in my brush is thinner, if that makes sense. Right, so let's take maybe a little bit darker here, not quite as much, and we'll push this back one on here, this back wave here, right, a little bit out there. We'll tap a little bit of our blues into here, and we'll go right up to the edge here, pull some of that nice, get that nice movement there into that wave. And I go back and forth between the knife. And so back here, I'll keep a little bit of gray into that color so they'll stay a little softer, right? And maybe a little lighter color. I'll show just a little bit lighter, still kind of violet because it's back, but a little bit lighter to hit the high points of that. And we can wipe your brush, pull back, pull the direction of the wave there. And I hit a little bit of blues. My brush had a little bit too much blue. Wipe your brush, Dave. Pull back. And that will blur that back there. And that's what I'm looking at. Blurring it, not blending it. Blurring that color back there. And let's just take some of that out here. There we go. That works. Let's take some of the, right to the shadow side up here by the point of that wave. We'll take some of that out, push that shadow right up to it, right to that point. back there. And some of that little shadow right there, just a corner of your brush. You could use your knife as well. They all work, and that'll just take a bit of the shadow right in there. So look for places that you can just get even some of that brighter little phthalo in there every once in a while. Let's go over here. Okay, so we have this big one building here. Maybe let's get the shadow, because we're not putting the lights on, we're putting the shadows on the waves. Let's get some open medium into this violet here. And so this wave is breaking here. And it's broken up over on this side, and it's going to head maybe a little bit of it coming down this way. But we'll just about like that big wave there, up and breaking and going all different kinds of directions. The wind's pushing it a bit. Let's get some of this grade and shadow color here, back in here. I love the streak the ocean with the knife. Look at how pretty that just streaks that. Get a little bit of dark, and I'm feeling the surface here, you know, and I'm feeling the consistency of it. So, you know, like the color I'm putting in there to soften that light is thinner than what I just put the light on. So I know it's going to work. I put the light on a little thicker, or here the shadow of the light on a little thicker, and then I pull the blues and stuff through a little bit thinner. Okay, so that goes through here. Let's get a shadow, a little more open medium right in here. Let's build a more shadowy kind of wave right in there. Okay, I just love painting these. And some more of the shadowy kind of wave right in here. Bigger, thicker, some of that stuff coming in. We're going to have some troughs and stuff in here. So you can see I can, you know, these are wind waves here inside the trough. The wind waves here, you know, dragging along the top crest of that wave there. So the main waves, and then you would have all of these little wind waves right out in here. Okay, now you can a couple ways to soften. We're going to go thin now, thin, and soften this color in. So we'll add some, so we have that thicker with the open medium. Now we'll go thin, very thin, which will shadow these, and see how it sticks, but I'm almost like glazing it into position. I'll hit some of this lighter color, and I can drag it out in to soften some areas of that wave if I want to. Here, let's get even a little bit of this green into it. Here. There we go. Just like that. I love that kind of really rough ocean there. And this is our low light. We're not even put the foam or any of the lights on yet. But as you can see, it works really, really well. This is our shadow side. So we can tap that up in through there like that. Your phthalo blue, phthalo green. Beautiful colors, maybe a touch of the yellow. Extender, so it's thin. As you work these into, and that thickness of the open medium we put on keeps this from smearing out too much. But you're super light on the old pressure, right? Super light on the pressure. Let's take a little more phthalo, a little bit, and a little bit of the red over here. A little bit thicker so I can paint up into the shadow of the wave here. The shadow side of this break. Right up here. You can see just a bit of that that shine going through. And if I want to bring it back, let me show you. Okay, so I got all that on, right? Let me just show you. If I want to bring that remember that original yellow back, I take this with a little bit of the water, and I can bring it right back. Do you see that? That's what I love for it. It's there. You won't go away to white because you have it protected, right? But then I can glaze that up and let as much of that light shine through as I want to see in the peak of that wave, if that makes sense, right? So I'm the one that determines that. I'll break up some of this shadow here, break up some of this with other little colors there. And the churning of the ocean here, the churning of this ocean is quite fun. These are quite fun to paint. See, I can take that and make sure you always wipe your brush and go back and redress some of your shadows here. It's very, very fun to paint. Redress some of your shadows here. And yeah, that looks good. Let's just drag over. Dragging over will smooth it out a bit. You don't always want to do that, but you know, different oceans are different ways. I'm going to take some of this thicker stuff here and just give like little wave shines here, little foamy area right there to break up some of that, and just pull through a bit. Maybe touch some a little heavier and put on that other secondary color or so in there. Here we go. That works pretty well. Yeah, and boy, I like how that works. A little bit of that dark red violet, real nice deep shadow into this trough as it's coming up into this one. Some of that shadowy trough color right up into there. That's pretty. Some touches of deep color, deep dark, right up against this. There. That's just real pretty right in there. It's a beautiful ocean. And get those violets in there every once in a while that really help you. But see, I like that little bit of green showing through. But it's yours. You can do anything you like, and that's what makes it fun. Nice deep shadow. Let's put a bit of that deepness right over here. Oh, some of that red violet came out, and that was really pretty. Let's just smear that around here. Right up into that wave. Right up into that. So you can smear it now, and you can get that, you know, try not to, and this is what's important, you know, you get that smear, okay? So if you want that wave to travel, that wave color, the light, has to be thicker than what the other color is, so it travels and doesn't mush out into a blend out and fade out. So it has to be thicker. So you have to, it takes a little bit of planning here. Let's put a big shadow right up in here. Let that wave come forward. Bit more of a shadow right up in there. That's pretty. Let's touch into some of this shadow here. Some of this is going to bounce around, so some of these you'll pull this as that wave moves here. But some of this, like boom, right up next to it there, that wave, will get that shadow. There we go. Look at that, boom, right through all that color. See, that's pretty. So now I got that. Now we're going to step up our violet. So it's still going to be a little bit violet, some open medium, some white. Okay, not pure white and not warm quite yet. Let's just pull, because the light, see, this is lighter, and we want to use this smaller, right? So we're going to drag this smaller and drag through this with some of your darks. Pick up some edges let some of those little bits of color, broken colors there, that's what creates all those beautiful waves. Just a bit of that pulling through here. Now see, that's too much. Yes, too much. I don't worry about it because I can take it out. And, you know, and that's what makes it pretty. Like I can take a softer, thinner blue and pull up like this, lifting some of that back off and creating some of that other tone right up in there. But this is the way I want that wave to go. So I'll lift some of that off here, and it'll create some of that other little bit of movement there. There we go. There, just and some of those other smaller little wind waves there that are really pretty. Let's get this. It's almost like a light that is peeling up over here. There, like that, that big point of that wave. And maybe some of it crashing down here. Like that. I just love that stuff. You know, roll the knife down and crash it down. Roll it over and crash it down. And then you can take thin blue into it and help shape the wave. I like to leave some of the points, but some of that crashing down there. And pushing up to get that, you know, if you push up into this light and then pull back, you'll get that, the motion of that works into those waves too. There, and I like that. So maybe these just push up and pull back through there. Yeah. So in other words, let me show you right up over here. I'll take this light, I'll grab it right in through here like that, right? And then I'll grab some thinner blue and I'll push up into it and then pull back, and I'll get that blue and that light traveling back with me to give that streakiness to it that I like it to have. Just a bit of it. Here. There. That's pretty. But sometimes I'll just tap around to create those bubbly edges. That's all nice. A little bit draggy. But you'll find your way. That's the beautiful thing, is you'll find your way, and your waves will be different than mine, and you'll find your way to create great waves. I want these a little bit heavier right in here. I love that light because that pulls this whole composition, this whole wave and everything forward. And I like that. Now, I'm going to take some of that out. So I'm going to go a little thicker with my blue right down over here. I'm going to take some of that out. So I'm going to add some open medium, which will thicken, and it'll take it out a little bit more. Does that make sense? There. Okay. So let's get a little phthalo green into that. There we go. That's pretty. Yes, and it is just kind of finding how you want to paint those waves. I'm going to blur these edges a bit. I'm going to redefine that trough down there. Right in there. And you can take a smaller brush and round up, and and sometimes I'll do that depending on how much time I have, and I'll take and I'll pull around to round up this wave a bit add a little more undulation to it. You know, and you can do that as well. And but I really love painting with when I paint waves this size, I love the 3/4 inch brush, because it just works for me at the size of my hand. And but some of you may have to thinner down a little bit or do whatever, but let's add a couple more little streaks of waves, little wind waves here. You know, little bits. There. Wind waves. Little V shapes for little V wind waves. There. Like that. Nice rough ocean. There. That's kind of neat. Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green. Such a pretty color on this. Just touch into those edges. Grab those little wind waves. We should add a few of the wind waves over here. Just up and down motions. Right, so a little bit of the light water, and then just take some of it out here, there, like that. That's kind of pretty. So bigger wave there. I could have a softer little bit of undulation here. Maybe some of that right down here. I'm just watching the tracking of the wave here. So we pulled out this way, and I like the waves that kind of bounce up and around. So I do like to paint like pulling down in a couple of different directions sometimes. You know, so a lot of times the ocean moves all one way, but when you have wind going one way and swells going a different way, you'll get this turning, which I really like, especially if I'm painting something that is, you know, coming with some of the storm and stuff around. I like to vary it. So that's pretty. I want some more powerful white right down in here, because I like that. I like that. I want, maybe we'll hit that shine, that light will hit right up here onto this wave. Okay, let's bring this light up here. And I'm going to rinse my brush out really well so I don't have anything in it but the solvent of water, and very little at that. So wipe your brush and flatten it out a bit. Come right along the edge and pull back. Wipe your brush really well, come right along the edge and pull back, and that will create that edge of that one right up there. And I like that. So then to get its final, maybe a small filbert or something here. Oh, a bristle works really well too. And I thought I brought out a bristle. Yes, I did. A bristle, this is a bristle filbert, some open medium, thick. Push it into it, and that works really well to put on some of that light hits. Just tap it in there to put on some of the light hits that would be on the wave here. Yeah, that's good. And light's coming this way, shadow coming this way, so let's pull back this way. So the light's pushing up, and then we'll pull back this way some of that light here, like that. And that's pushing that one up. That'll work. Maybe some of this light is hitting right in here, because the light side is coming from this side, right? Supposedly. So we'll have some light hitting right in there. Some light right in there. There, like that. Oh, I don't know why I don't paint more of these. I just have such a good, it's so much fun just playing in the waves here. Just playing in the waves. But let's get back right in here. We'll get some of this purpley blue and violet here. Let's build this up a bit right in here. Coming forward just a bit more, right in there. Some more power right in here. Let's even take some of that out this way. Let's take some thin, work that in here, and get some of that beautiful mid-tone coloring in there. See how easy that is to do with the knife? When you play the knife back and forth between the extender making it thin and the open medium making it thick, you really get some magnificent effects. Let's take the light, and the light is going to be on this side here, right like that. So let's just leave that here. Let's pull this a little bigger right in here. This will give a little more power to our ocean here. Just a bit more power. And I can scrape that knife a bit too over that surface. I just love doing that. Yeah, that works a little bit better. Maybe some of this pulling back this way. It's good, a little bit more, because it's churning. This is a nice churning ocean here. There we go. Some of this pulling back. There. Smear it just a bit. We'll give it some distance. Let's touch into a little bit of light. I haven't added the yellow, which I should, to add some yellow to some of these lights. But we'll just break that up a bit. Just add some of that wind movement there. It's also good to just grab a clean brush and just pull through. Wipe your brush, pull through, and set up that motion, and then maybe hit a little bit of light again. And you can dance it around and do all different kinds of stuff, but you get these beautiful movements there to that wave. Let's I'm going to add a little more depth here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of light right back here. And let's go back to my 3/4 inch and some thin color and push that back ever so softly. Right back in there. And blue, green, touch of red, violet. Let's just take just a touch of that out. There, like that. That's kind of pretty, gets that other color back there. But a little bit more of that red and that violet and that phthalo give you that real deep blackish color that we want to tap in a bit. Now, let's take out some of this white part of this wave for the look of the shadow. And gives that churniness that I want to have, this churning ocean here. Thin this, straighten that one out just a bit here. Yeah, so we get that peak, but that's kind of nice. And we'll tap a bit of that dark here and there, in there. Up into some of that. Maybe right up in here. There. That's kind of neat. Yeah. Some of that dark, right? Because this is the trough down in here. Right? That's the trough. Our dark. Yeah, right down. Yeah, that's pretty. And now you see you got all those blue greens and blues and different colors in there. It's quite pretty. Put a little bit, ooh, that's a little too red here. That's quite pretty. Right in there like that. Just, yeah, get some of that beautiful color. Now, back, did I bring a small brush? Yeah, well, kind of small. Let's come right back here and use a soft gray and white, and I'm going to give the impression right back here of a ship. Here, just the impression of the ship that's pulling out of the storm here. And so a grade, maybe a little bit of light hitting like on the front right side of, you know, we'll make like a 3-masted sailing ship here. We'll take some darker gray and push in the other side of the ship, the idea of the other side of the ship there. Coming through. And just give the impression of the square rigs of the sails and stuff. Okay, so might have to, this is still really wet, I might have to let this dry and develop it like this. So we have a light side and a shadow side to it, right? A little bit of light here. Keep everything just kind of squared up. That's, you know, small rectangles for the sails and stuff, just the ideas. There, right? And then let's add just a touch of burnt sienna to that. Maybe the idea of the pointed little bow here. Right like that, that little ship coming back there. And very impressionistic. Let's get just a little bit of this softer gray and light and just kind of incorporate him into the water a bit like that. Just a hint, right? Just a hint. And I don't want to, you just want to give it almost like you're painting a ghost here. You don't want to do too much here because that'll be, he's too detailed, right? But we can have just a, I like that, just a small smidgen of a ship. There. That he's coming in through, and let's put just a little idea of white water around him. A little idea of some blues. Setting into the waves just a touch. So there he is, just coming back into there. That's kind of neat. Some light ideas, just soft, because you would pick up, you know, even though you're breaking all these waves up here, so you would have a few ideas of some of the distant waves there. Like that. There. Yeah. Biggie big. Biggie big. Let's put a medium-sized to smaller one right up in here. That will help us with planes to push him back just a bit. In other words, we'll flatten that one just a bit so it will push give more distance between him and the front wave. And sometimes I just have to play with that and look at it for a little bit, because you got to create these linear planes. Imagine the waves getting smaller and smaller going back there. And that's what you create to get those planes to get him going back, if that makes sense. Here, okay, so that's got that. Now, it's still a little bit wet there, but I'm going to try here. The safest thing, if you're going to try to do like I'm going to do here now and put in a little bit of the, like a cast of the, I'm just going to fix this real quick. Cast of the light shining through, it's safest to dry it and give it a coat of sealer. Does that make sense? That's the safest of everything. Always. Dry it and give it a coat of sealer. But I'm going to take here, and I'll use my bigger brush, and I kind of want to just come through, because I want to light this up a little bit more. But where's my 3/4 inch brush? My favorite. And I'm going to take white, a little bit of yellow, nice bright yellow. Okay. Some extender medium. Let's just add some right here. Just pour it on there. And mix that up nice and thin. And I'll add, let's make sure we're clean here. Add some extender medium. Now, you can also use glazing medium. This is what glazing medium is for, is to glaze colors. And I'm going to have this like super thin. So I'm going to reach up here where it's even thinner yet. And just barely in my brush here, I'm going to check this out. Yeah, let's go a little bit thinner. And it's going to look harsh, and then it's going to dry and almost disappear. So you might have to do it a few times. But just grab this light through. Streak it through a couple times. This light, right like that, coming through. See? I always feel better when that starts to get on and it works. But you can always, let's see, so I'll come right through here. And let's go right up through here. Boom. And so you can always, though, dry it and glaze it, That always works. There we go. And let some of that sun, and let that be the glint here. Let's go back to the bristle for a second. Let some of that with that little bit of light. Let that be the glint on this wave here. Hit that light little. Now, you see, way back down underneath there, and I've lost some of it, right? Way back down underneath there is that pretty little yellow that I put on, and I lost some of that. I can just take water right here. See, boom, there it is. So I can bring this light and hit that little bit of yellow right there, right up into that light. See? Pulling it right off because I protected it with the sealer. Does that make sense? So I protected it with the sealer so I know it's there. And I can come through. And now you see how that's drying down, disappearing a little bit. There we go. Just get a little bit of that light coming through there. That's kind of neat. I may want to do that light one more time. Just very softly. Just like that. Just boom, he just picks up and hits that ship coming in there. I like that. Now what I don't like is that line is a little bit too even. So I'll just take a minute and take out some of that shadow right there with a shadow right on the edge of the wave. Here, maybe there and this way, because we're churning it up. If you know, and I love the oceans that are more churning because, you know, sometimes we get these, you know, that everything is just too much linear one way. And I just don't like that. And so I will play the churning of the ocean. And that's what I like. So, and we'll just, and I think that's a good painting. Boy, wouldn't this make a magnificent, you know, lighter or bigger painting? This would make a really quite a bigger painting. Quite nice. I could take a little bit of this light here and just fix up that corner of that top sail a little bit more. But that's, I just want to give the impression of that ship out there. And yeah, you need any more through the clouds? I kind of like all of that. I could, you know, just, yeah, but you can come back in here and work. Let's put a little bit of blue, round them up a bit. That's up to you how much you do. Let some of those just kind of fade away back there. Layers of clouds, and soften, fracture the edges there. So all kinds of stuff. I like that light going through there. I like that light going through there. Maybe a little bit more of this light. That is the light yellow coming through the rays right through here. That just gives a good light through there. That's kind of pretty. Yeah, and widen out. I should maybe widen out just a little bit right in here. I don't like the waves kind of like completely, you know, outlined. So like right out through here is a good, just to widen it out a bit. Widen out your lights so that it's not always an outline. See, I like this. It's all that in there. This one's a little too outlined. So let's just broaden this out just a bit and change that up a bit here. Grab some of this and just thin. There we go. Get that little wind wave right there, right up by the top of that one. And let some of that yellow come through. See how you can bring it back up. That's the beautiful thing. And you can do that with any of your paintings. You know, seal it off or glazing medium it off, protect it, dry it, and then you can rub on it all you want. When that glazing medium or that sealer is hard, the water won't go through it. So you can set up basically an underpainting, paint up on top of it, then wipe back down and bring it back up and bring some of those real glowy colors back up that you had up there before. And it just works. It really does just work. I'm gonna, just one last thing, I think, I'm just looking at this, maybe make this into a second one right here. That is pushing that one up a little bit more. Maybe that's what that needs. Don't quite like the movement there. I have to look at it a little bit. That's better. It breaks that up to a secondary movement of a second one right in here. That's giving it the reason to go a little bit higher. Does that make sense? Yeah, you can just, there are thousands of pictures of rough oceans out there on the internet that you can just use for reference, and they're really great, really fun to paint. That's better. That gives a nice look there, and that'll do her. I think that will do it for this particular painting. Break this edge there. Yep, I like it. Okay, so have some fun with that. It's a great technique. Now, you can take that technique of sealing it off or glazing it off to the roses, to anything else. I should show you guys that too. But just remember, and you can see the color working in through here. Open medium whenever you want it to stick and stay and give it some power. Extender to would thin the color out, but it also slows the drying time. They both slow the drying time, but the extender thins the color out, and so you can, put in some, soften out some shadows and all that kind of stuff without taking out too much of anything in the painting itself. Okay, so it really, really works. And so if I wanted to come in here and do any kind of adjustments or anything, I would go to the extender. So if I wanted to adjust maybe a little phthalo green here, adjust some of this, maybe get some of that phthalo green right in here, I would do it with the extender as opposed to the open medium, because the extender is thinner and it won't take out. Look at that beautiful shadow it gave on that side. Let's push just a bit of that right in there. See how that phthalo green is, such a pretty color in that. Just makes it look like you know what you're doing. It's so pretty. Okay, anyway, hope you guys enjoy that. You can build your sky a little bit more, but I kind of like that. I could have a deeper shadow right in there, but no, I think that it pulls on there. Give just an indication of the rain, a little indication of light coming through. I might let that, it's still a little tacky, I might let that completely dry, maybe do it once more. But I like that bit of the blue and the sky and that bit. It's just got a lot to do, a lot to look at, okay? Thanks very much for joining me on this one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and, leave a comment. Like I told some of you, my wife, Martha, and even my daughter was out answering some of the comments. She reads them off to me while I'm doing other things, but we read all your comments, all of us do. We all read your comments here at the studio, and we really, really appreciate them. So, whether you're talking to Martha or talking to Jessica, they're answering some of them now. Some of the real technical questions I answer. But thank you very much for supporting those that are part of our membership, that do support us with the monthly fee and stuff. Thank you very much. That's what pays for everything. We try to give as much free as we can. But there's also people that work here at the studio. So we try to give as much as free as possible. And your support of our channel really helps, really does. So, and if there's something you want to see, let us know, and we'll try to get that up and onto the channel. Okay. Thanks very much. And I'll see you guys on the next one.